I shot my brother in the knee with his own hunting rifle last Tuesday, right there in the garage where he'd hidden the evidence for 15 years. And the only thing that surprised me was how little blood there was, just a dark seep through his jeans, like spilled coffee on the concrete floor. He screamed like a gutted pig, collapsing against the workbench, clutching his leg as if it might reattach itself if he prayed hard enough. But I didn't flinch, hell. I even offered him a rag from the toolbox to staunch it, because that's what family does. Right? We clean up each other's messes, even when those messes have been festering since we were kids, turning love into something rotten and unrecognizable. It started, like all good American tragedies, with a car, a cherry red Ford Mustang convertible that Dad bought me for my 16th birthday. Back when we lived in that split-level ranch house on Elm Street in suburban Ohio. The kind of place where everyone waves from their manicured lawns but whispers about your business over backyard barbecues. I was the golden girl then, straight-A student, cheer squad captain. The one who volunteered at the animal shelter on weekends because it looked good on college apps. Tommy, my little brother by 2 years, was the screw-up, the one who skipped class to smoke weed behind the bleachers, who Dad bailed out of juvie twice before he even hit puberty. But I loved him. God help me. Loved him the way you love a stray dog that bites your hand every time you try to feed it. The night it all went to hell was prom season. May of 2009. I just turned 18. Legal in every way that mattered except for the weight of the world Dad kept piling on my shoulders after Mom skipped town with her yoga instructor. You're the big sister. Sammy. He'd slur over his third Budweiser. Eyes glassy from the factory shift. Keep Tommy straight. You're all he's got.
So I did.
I drove him everywhere in that Mustang, blasting top 40 on the radio to drown out his bitching about how life was unfair. That night, after I dropped him off at his buddy's for some lame house party, I got the call from the cops. Wreckage on Route 42. A single car rollover. My car. My fault, they said, because Tommy had swiped the keys while I was in the shower, blasted through a stop sign at 80, and plowed into a ditch. The Mustang was totaled, a twisted metal skeleton wrapped around an oak tree. But Tommy, he walked away with scratches. The passenger, a girl named Riley from his grade, some cheerleader wannabe he'd been sniffing around, didn't. She flew through the windshield like a rag doll. They told me later, her skull cracking open on the asphalt before the paramedics even rolled up. I should have let him rot. But Dad begged me, tears streaming down his grease-streaked face in the hospital waiting room. Tommy doped up on painkillers in the next bed over. He's your blood,
Sammy.
One mistake. The judge'll throw the book at him. Manslaughter.
DUI.
The works. You'll lose your scholarship, your future, everything if this sticks to you. Lose what? The Ivy League dreams? The escape hatch from our crumbling life? Turns out, I did lose it all. I confessed to the cops the next morning. Bleary-eyed and scripted by Dad, I'd been driving too fast, distracted by a text from my prom date. Riley's parents, hollow-eyed at the arraignment, screamed obscenities as the gavel fell. Reckless vehicular homicide. 2 years probation. Community service. A record that branded me a killer before I could even vote. Tommy hugged me after the hearing, whispering, "You're the best, sis," into my hair. But his eyes were already darting to the exit, calculating his next con. He joined the army right after graduation. Shipped off to Afghanistan like it was a redemption arc. Came back with a Purple Heart and a heroin habit he hid behind that all-American grin. Dad drank himself into an early grave by 2015, Liver shot from years of overtime and regret, leaving me the house and a stack of medical bills that forced me to drop out of community college. I waitressed at Denny's for a decade, dodging questions about what happened to that bright girl from high school acquaintances who'd friend me on Facebook out of pity. Tommy? He climbed the ladder, small-town cop by 25. Detective by 30. Married a sweet thing named Lisa from the precinct. Popped out 2 kids who called me Aunt Sammy with gap-toothed smiles. He bought a split level just like Dad's. Threw 4th of July barbecues where the beer flowed and the flags waved. And every time someone asked about the scar on his forearm from that overseas scrape, he'd flash that Purple Heart and change the subject. But secrets have a way of rotting from the inside out. Don't they? Like that time in 18 when I found the dashcam footage on his old laptop. The one he'd borrowed from evidence lockup, grainy black and white showing the Mustang fishtailing. Riley's blonde ponytail whipping in the wind. Tommy's hands white-knuckled on the wheel as he laughed at some joke she didn't get. I confronted him in the kitchen of his McMansion. Kids napping upstairs. Lisa out running errands. "You let me take the fall," I hissed. Voice low enough not to wake the dog. He didn't even blink, just poured me a scotch.
Neat.
Like we were toasting old times. "And you'd do it again."
Sammy.
For family. That's when I saw it, the flip, the mass cracking. He wasn't a scared kid anymore. He was the guy who'd buried bodies in Fallujah, metaphorically speaking, and come home sharper for it. You think Riley's folks would have forgiven a junkie dropout?
Nah.
They'd have strung me up.
But you?
The prom queen? They gave you a slap on the wrist. We're square. Square? I'd lost boyfriends who couldn't handle the killer whispers. Jobs that dried up when background checks pinged red. Nights staring at the ceiling wondering if Riley's ghost judged me from whatever purgatory drunk drivers go to. And Tommy? He got the hero edit. The clean slate. The life I was supposed to have. That's when the planning started. Not some cartoon villain plot with poison and shadows. But the slow-burn American way, documents, alibis. The kind of revenge that hits where it hurts most, in the wallet and the whisper network. It took me 3 years to unravel him. First, I got my PI license, online courses, and a 6-month internship at a firm in Columbus, telling everyone it was reinventing myself post-Denny's. Tracked his side gigs, skimming evidence from busts, tipping off dealers for kickbacks. That Purple Heart polished just enough to blind the brass at promotions. Lisa knew nothing blissful in her PDA meetings and Zumba classes, but the kids? God. The kids were the leverage. I started small, anonymous tips to internal affairs about irregularities in his case files, watching him sweat through family Thanksgivings, his laugh a little too loud, his hugs a little too tight. By 2024, he was on thin ice, demoted to traffic duty, the McMansion teetering on foreclosure. But he flipped again, came to me one rainy night, bottle of Maker's Mark in hand, spilling apologies like loose change. "I need you. Cease. One last favor. Borrow some cash. Co-sign the refinance. For the boys." I smiled, poured us both a glass, and said yes. Hook, line, sinker. The family reunion was Grandpa's idea, 85 and sharp as a tack despite the Parkinson's tremor in his hands. The old man who'd fought in Korea and never let us forget it. He rented the lake house up in Hocking Hills, that cedar A-frame with the wraparound porch overlooking the fog-shrouded water, where we'd spent summers fishing and swapping ghost stories. "One last hurrah," he croaked over the phone. Voice gravel from too many Chesterfields. "Before I kick it and you lot turn this into a timeshare." So we gathered, me, Tommy and Lisa with the boys, 8-year-old Max. the soccer star, and 5-year-old Ben, all gap-toothed curiosity, and a smattering of cousins who'd flown in from Cali. Plus Aunt Karen with her boxed wine and conspiracy theories about fluoride in the tap. Grandpa held court from his rocker on the porch that first evening, the sun dipping low over the hills like a blood orange, casting long shadows that danced with the fireflies. We grilled burgers, nothing fancy, just ground chuck from the Piggly Wiggly and cracked open coolers of Coors, the air thick with charcoal smoke and nostalgia. Tommy was in rare form, regaling the cousins with tales of busting meth labs, his badge gleaming under the string lights like a prop from a cop show. Lisa beamed, passing plates, while the boys chased each other around the yard, shrieking about superheroes. I hung back, nursing a seltzer, watching it all through the lens of what was coming. Grandpa caught my eye, waving me over with a liver-spotted hand. "Sammy girl, been too long. How's that new ride treating you? The Mustang,
Right?
saw it in your driveway last month, sleek as ever. Cherry red. Reminds me of the Stang I drove in '52. Before the chosen reservoir turned me gray, the porch went quiet. Forks pausing midair, eyes sliding to me like shrapnel in slow motion. Tommy's beer bottle hovered at his lips. Frozen. Lisa's smile faltered. A porcelain crack. What car? The words hung in my throat, but I let them out anyway, casual as flipping a pancake. What car? Grandpa, his bushy brows furrowed, confusion etching deeper lines into his forehead. The one you just bought. Brand new. Parked it right there by the oak. Thought you'd finally upgraded from that beater Civic. The family froze. A tableau of suspended animation, Aunt Karen's wine sloshing in her glass, the boys tumbling to a halt in the grass, even the crickets seeming to hush. Tommy's face drained of color, his knee, still bandaged from a slip at the range, twitching under the picnic table. Because Grandpa hadn't seen a new car. He'd seen the ghost of one. Or maybe the prop I'd planted, a rented Mustang. Cherry red. Identical to the one Tommy wrapped around that tree. Parked in my driveway during his surveillance shift last month. I timed it perfectly, snapped photos. Sent them to Grandpa with a vague, "Check out my upgrade," text. Knowing his memory played tricks, but his suspicions never did. In that moment, with the lake lapping softly at the shore and the stars pricking the twilight sky, I watched the fracture lines spread. Tommy's eyes met mine, pleading, promising whatever scraps of brotherhood he had left. But I just shrugged, took a slow sip of my drink, and let the silence do the rest. Revenge isn't always a bang. Sometimes it's the echo that shatters everything. The freeze lasted maybe 10 seconds, but it felt like the ice age rolling in thick, unyielding, the kind that buries secrets under glaciers until they crack open centuries later. Aunt Karen broke it first, her laugh a brittle cackle that shattered the tension like cheap glass. Old man seeing things again. Must be the pain meds. Pop, mixing with that moonshine you hide in the shed. Everyone exhaled, a collective whoosh of relief. Chairs scraping as they dove back into their plates. Chatter bubbling up about football scores and gas prices. But Tommy didn't move. He stared at me across the fire pit, his jaw set like concrete, the flames glow carving hollows under his eyes. I held his gaze, unblinking, until Lisa tugged his sleeve. "Babe, burger's getting cold." And he blinked, forcing a grin that didn't reach his soul.
Grandpa,
Bless his stubborn heart, wasn't done. He leaned forward in his rocker, creaking like an old ship, and jabbed a finger at me. "Don't bullshit me, Samantha."
I know what I saw.
Parked it crooked. Too, like you kids always did back in the day. Fender's got that fresh wax shine, but it smells like new leather inside. The cousins tittered. But there was an edge now. A ripple of unease snaking through the group. Max piped up from the grass. Ketchup smeared on his cheek. "Aunt Sammy has a cool car? Can we ride in it?" Ben echoed him, bouncing on his toes. And just like that, the kids turned it into a game, defusing the bomb with their innocence. Tommy seized the thread, ruffling Max's hair. "Yeah,
Kiddo.
Aunt Sammy's got wheels that'd make Batman jealous. Tell him about it later. Sis." His voice was honey over razor wire, a plea wrapped in brotherly banter. I played along, because timing is everything in this game. Maybe tomorrow, if Grandpa doesn't spill all my secrets first. Laughter rippled again, genuine this time, and the night unwound like a well-rehearsed play, Esmores charred over the flames. Ghost stories that paled next to the real hauntings. Lisa strumming her guitar with off-key covers of Fleetwood Mac. But under it all, the air hummed with electricity, the kind before a Midwestern thunderstorm. Tommy cornered me by the cooler around midnight, when the fire had died to embers and the cousins had crashed on air mattresses inside. "What the fuck was that?" he hissed, breath hot with IPA. I popped a top on a fresh can, handed it to him like we were sharing war stories. "Just a little fun with the old man." "Lighten up." His hand shot out, gripping my wrist hard enough to bruise. Echo of Dad's temper. The one we'd both inherited, but he wielded like a badge. "Don't play cute." That text. The photo, "You're fucking with fire."
Sammy.
Grandpa starts digging, asks the wrong questions. He trailed off, eyes flicking to the house where Lisa snored softly through the screen door. I twisted free. Casual. But my pulse thrummed like a bass line. "Digging into what?
Tommy?
Your war hero scrapbook? Or the one with Riley's blood on the dash?" He deflated, shoulders slumping, the cop facade cracking to reveal the junkie kid who'd always needed saving. I said I'm sorry. 100 times. "What do you want, blood?" I smiled, slow and sharp. "Already got that. From your knee, remember?" He'd earned that bullet fair and square 2 weeks back in his garage. I'd shown up unannounced, helping with the refinance paperwork, and when he turned his back to grab the bourbon, I'd pulled the .308 from under my jacket, his own dear rifle, borrowed from the gun safe during one of his shifts. One shot, low and clean, through the patella. He buckled, howling, but the neighbors were at bingo night, and the suppressor I'd mailed-ordered from some sketchy site in Nevada's muffled it to a cough. "For Riley," I'd whispered, watching him writhe. "And for every lie you told to buy your way clean." Then I drove him to the ER myself, spinning the yarn about a hunting accident mishap, signing the forms as his loving sister. Doctors bought it. Cops always do for their own. And he limped out on crutches with a script for Oxy that he popped like candy. That was the appetizer. The warning shot. The main course? Exposing the rot he'd spread like kudzu through our family's veins. Tommy's side hustle wasn't just petty graft. It was a web. Sticky and vast. Spun during his deployment downtime and refined stateside. I'd pieced it together from public records, bar tabs, and burner phone logs I'd hacked with a cheap app from the dark web. Nothing glamorous. Just dogged digging over late-night shifts at the PI firm. He'd been fencing seized dope to out-of-town buyers, laundering the cash through Lisa's boutique, really a front for knockoff purses. even pulling strings to bury a hit-and-run last year that pinned a DUI on some poor schmuck from the wrong side of town. The kicker? That poor schmuck was black. A single dad, with priors. Now rotting in county for a crime Tommy's patrol car committed after one too many lines at the station Christmas party. Collateral, Tommy called it when I confronted him pre-shooting. Shrugging like it was traffic. Keeps the machine greased. I didn't go to the feds, not yet. Too clean. Too final. This was personal. A reckoning carved from the same bone-deep betrayal that had me scrubbing plates at dawn while he climbed promotions. So, I started threading the needle, leaked the hit-and-run dashcam anonymously. Of course, to a podcaster sniffing around police brutality. Watched the Twitter storm brew with Justice for Jamal hashtags. Then the evidence logs, fudged serial numbers on baggies. Cross-referenced with Tommy's Venmo trails to a consulting LLC. Each drip eroded him. IA probes, Lisa's sidelong glances at his phone, the boys asking why Daddy limped. And me? I was the ghost in the machine. Aunt Sammy with a listening ear and the harmless questions over ice cream runs. Back at the lake house. The second day dawned muggy. The hills shrouded in mist that clung like regret. Grandpa was up early, frying bacon in the cast-iron skillet, whistling God Bless America off-key. He cornered me at the coffee pot, eyes sharp behind his bifocals. Spill it,
Girl.
that car, it's not just a ride. Is it? Saw the plate in the pic. Sam, 420. Your old joke number. But you ain't bought shit. I checked with your landlord yesterday. Empty spot. My stomach twisted. Damn his Korean vet paranoia. Always one step ahead. I set down the mug. Steam curling like a question mark. Grandpa. It's nothing. Just messing with Tommy. How to say it without unraveling the spool. He owes me. From way back. He nodded. Slow. Like he'd known all along. The accident. Riley girl. I never bought your story.
Sammy.
Too clean for a kid like you. Tommy's got the devil's luck and the devil's eyes. He poured me a cup, black as midnight, and slid it over. Don't let it eat you. Revenge is a hollow meal. But I saw the spark in him. The old soldier weighing loyalties. By lunch, he'd pulled Tommy aside for a man-to-man on the dock, rods in hand, casting lines into the murk. I watched from the porch, heart hammering, as Tommy's gestures grew animated, Grandpa's face stone. Whatever was said, it ended with a clap on the shoulder, affection or warning. Hard to tell from 50 yards. The afternoon cracked open the fault lines. Lisa found the oxy bottle in Tommy's tackle box, half empty. Labels peeled, and confronted him in the kitchen. Voice pitched low but slicing. This why you're popping ibuprofen like Tic Tacs? After the accident? The boys froze in the doorway, eyes wide. And I swooped in, herding them to the TV with cartoons and contraband Pop-Tarts. Tommy stormed out, crutches thwacking the deck, and drove off in his unmarked cruiser, gravel spitting like accusations. Lisa collapsed at the table, head in hands. He's slipping.
Sammy.
The demotion. The money fights. And now this. I sat beside her, arm around her shoulders, sister-in-law. Unwitting pawn. He's always slipped. But family's family. Lies. All of it. But they bought me time. Evening brought the storm, literal thunder rumbling over the hills. Rain sheeting the windows like a biblical flood. We huddled inside, power flickering, telling stories by lantern light. Grandpa started it, Back in 51, I had a buddy named Kowalski, best shot in the platoon. Saved my ass at Heartbreak Ridge. But he turned, sold cords to the Reds for a carton of Luckies. I put a round in his knee, left him for the wolves. Mercy, they called it. The room stilled again. Eyes on me now. The subtext thicker than the humidity. Tommy wasn't back yet. Radio silence on his cell, and the cousins murmured about cop drama. Aunt Karen. 3 wines deep. Slurred. Sounds like our boys got skeletons.
Spill.
Pop, who's the rat? Grandpa's gaze pinned me.
Ask Sammy.
She's the one with the ghosts. And there it was, the flip. His loyalty shifting like sand. I felt the room tilt. Alliances fracturing. The revenge I'd orchestrated turning on me like a boomerang. Tommy's cruiser crunched gravel outside just then. Headlights cutting the dark like judgment. He burst in, soaked, face thunderous. We need to talk.
Now.
He grabbed my arm, dragging me to the porch, rain lashing our faces. Called my guy at the station. That podcast a leak? Your IP traces back to your router. You stupid bitch. His breath reeked of whiskey, eyes wild. You want to burn us all?
Fine.
But the boys. I wrenched free. Rain mingling with the sting in my eyes, not tears. Never tears. The boys deserve better than a liar for a dad. Like Riley deserved better than your wheel. He lunged, fist cocked. But the door banged open, Grandpa. Shotgun in hand from the hall closet. A relic from his hunting days. Touch her.
Boy.
And you'll limp on both legs. Tommy froze. The storm raging around us. And in that suspended beat, I saw the endgame shift. Not just him, but all of us. Complicit in the cover we'd woven. The shotgun wasn't loaded. Grandpa's arthritis made racking the slide a joke these days, but it might as well have been a howitzer in that moment. The barrel a black moss swallowing the porch light. Tommy backed off. Hands up like he was de-escalating a domestic. The cop training kicking in even as his face twisted with betrayal.
Easy.
Gramps. Family meeting. That's all. Grandpa didn't lower it. His tremor steadying with that old wartime steel. Family don't drag kin into the rain to throw punches. Get inside. Both of you. We've got talking to do. The door swung wide. Lantern glow spilling out like an invitation to confession. And we filed in, me dripping, Tommy seething. The family arrayed on the sagging couch like a jury of ghosts. Lisa had the boys tucked in their sleeping bags upstairs, fairy lights casting spooky shadows on the rafters. But she'd left the baby monitor on, its green eye winking from the coffee table. Static crackled. Then Max's sleepy mumble. Daddy okay? Tommy's shoulders hitched, the fight leaching out of him like air from a punctured tire. He collapsed into the armchair, crutches clattering, and buried his face in his hands. Fuck. This is all fucked. Aunt Karen poured whiskeys, real ones, from the emergency stash and passed them around, her eyes gleaming with that vulture curiosity she got from Mom's side. The cousins hung back, phones surreptitiously filming under the table. Because, in 2025, every meltdown's content fodder. Grandpa settled into his rocker, shotgun across his lap like a conversation starter. Start from the beginning.
Tommy.
And don't gimme the hero edit. Tommy glanced at me. A silent what now, but I just crossed my arms, rain pooling at my feet, and waited.
He sighed.
Deep and ragged. And it poured out, the whole sordid reel. Edited for prime time but raw enough to curdle milk. The Mustang heist on prom night. Riley's giggles turning to screams as the tree rushed up. The panic. The swap. Him fleeing into the woods. Circling back to discover the wreck. Me arriving home late from studying to take the heat. Dad's coaching. The forged texts on my phone. It was supposed to be one lie, he said. Voice cracking. Protect Sammy from the fallout.
But then,
Enlistment papers came, and I thought, clean slate. Army don't ask about juvie bullshit. The room shifted, gasps from the cousins. Lisa's hand flying to her mouth downstairs on the monitor feed. Grandpa nodded, unsurprised. And the rest? The badges and the bribes. Tommy's head snapped up, eyes narrowing. You knew. A bark of laughter. Bitter as black coffee. Knew? Pop. I earned that star. Bagged kingpins. Worked doubles. The tips? Survival. Department's a machine. Feeds on the weak. He gestured wildly. Knee throbbing visible under the Afghan. Like Jamal Washington. That hidden run? Foggy night. Bad call. I covered for a brass who owed me. Yeah. But the guy's a career felon. One less dealer on the street. Jesus. Tommy. Lisa's voice cut in from the stairs. She'd crept down, face pale, as the moon through the window. A dealer? With kids? You pinned that on him. The boys stirred on the monitor. Whimpers filtering through. And she bolted back up, footsteps fading. Tommy deflated further. The web he'd spun tangling around his own ankles. Aunt Karen leaned in, whiskey sloshing. So Sammy here. She shot you? For this. Eyes on me now. Accusatory. The flip complete. I met them head on. The rain drumming a war beat on the roof. For Riley. For the decade I scrubbed grease off plates while he played hero. For Jamal's kids. Wondering why Daddy don't come home. Grandpa set the shotgun aside. The click echoing like a gavel. All of you, rotten branches on the same tree.
Tommy,
You stole her life to save your hide.
Sammy,
You could have gone to the DA years ago. Spared this circus. And me, I suspected. Kept quiet for Dad's ghost. He coughed. A wet rattle. And the room hung heavy with the weight of it all. The cousins murmured one. A lawyer type from L.A. muttering about obstruction charges, while Tommy's phone buzzed incessantly on the side table. Precinct dispatch. Probably wondering why Detective Reynolds was MIA during a storm watch. That's when the twist hit. Sly as a backroom deal. Tommy straightened, wiping his face, and pulled a thumb drive from his pocket. Small, innocuous, the kind that holds a city's worth of dirt. You think you're the only one digging? Sis, been tailing you for months. That PI gig?
cute.
But I found her emails to Riley's mom. Planning to go public. Drag the family through the papers. He tossed it onto the table, skittering like a roach. Her reply? She's dying, pancreatic. Stage 4. Doesn't want the circus. Wants peace. And a cut of my savings to bury her kid proper. My blood iced. I'd reached out last spring. Anonymous at first, then bold. I was driving. Let me make it right. Her response had been a gut punch. Forgiveness laced with venom. Demands for hush money to fund her meds. Tommy's grin was feral. Paid her off. $20K from the slush fund.
So, yeah.
I flipped. Protected us all. Again, the room erupted shouts. Accusations flying like spitballs. Aunt Karen. Blackmail? From a ghost. The lawyer cousin. That's extortion. You idiot. Lisa's sobs echoed from upstairs. The boys crying now. A cacophony that drowned the thunder. Grandpa rose, shaky but iron, and snatched the drive. Enough. This ends tonight. He hobbled to the fireplace, flames leaping greedy, and chucked it in, the plastic melting, data curling to ash in seconds. No more ledgers. Tommy, you resign Monday, quiet. Or I call my VFW boys at the DA's office.
Sammy,
You walk away, or you're no better than him. His eyes bored into mine. The man who'd buried his own sins in foxholes now drawing the line in our living room sand. I wanted to scream, no. This wasn't the script. My revenge was surgical. A scalpel to his throat. Not this blunt hammer smashing the whole damn house. But as the fire popped and the rain eased to a drizzle, I saw the controversy bloom. Was Grandpa right? Tommy's protection a twisted mercy, shielding Riley's mom from scandal. Me from irrelevance? Or was I the villain, dragging innocence into my vendetta? The family divided on the spot, cousins siding with expose the corruption, Aunt Karen defending, bloods thicker, Lisa's silence a chasm.
Tommy met my eyes.
Not triumphant, but hollow. We're even now.
Sammy.
Or we're both monsters. Dawn broke gray and sodden. The lake flat as a mirror, reflecting nothing but regret. We packed in silence, hugs brittle as autumn leaves. Promises to talk soon ringing false. Grandpa pulled me aside by the car, his Buick idling like a faithful dog. Mercy ain't weakness.
Girl.
It's the only win in this game. I nodded, throat tight. But as I drove away, alone, finally, the radio crackled with news. Breaking, Columbus PD scandal widens. Anonymous leak implicates high-ranking detective in evidence tampering. My doing? No. Tommy's insurance. A preemptive purge emailed from his burner before the reunion. The flip again. His cunning a mirror to mine. Back in my apartment that night. The one above the laundromat with the flickering neon sign. I poured a scotch, neat, like he did, and scrolled the feeds. Cop corruption trended. Tommy's face pixelated in mugshots. Lisa's tearful statement going viral. We had no idea. The boys. Blurred for privacy. Their future's a question mark. Riley's mom had passed quietly that morning. Per the obit piece. Or evasion. My phone buzzed, unknown number. Thanks for the nudge. A photo attached, him in sweats. Knee braced. Signing papers at a lawyer's office. Resignation. Or plea deal. The high wore off fast. Leaving the hollow Grandpa warned of. I'd won, sort of. Tommy dethroned. The secret exhumed. Justice for Riley in jagged pieces. But the cost? Family splintered. Kids, collateral. My hands as dirty as his. I stared at the ceiling. Rain pattering the fire escape, wondering if mercy was the real revenge, or just another lie we tell to sleep at night. Weeks blurred into a haze of fallout, the kind that settles like Ohio coal dust, choking everything in its path. Tommy's resignation hit the papers as a mutual parting, but the whispers were wildfire. I raid on his locker. Fed sniffing around the slush fund. Lisa filing for separation from a motel room in Dayton with the boys in tow. She texted me once. Why didn't you warn me? Before blocking my number. Her profile pic switching to a solo shot at the Grand Canyon. The kids cropped out like inconvenient footnotes. I didn't reply. What was there to say? Sorry your husband's a sociopath. But blood's blood? Instead, I threw myself into work, tail jobs for cheating spouses, asset searches for bitter divorcees, The banality of it a balm against the ache. Grandpa called every Sunday, his voice fainter each time, Parkinson's gnawing at the edges. Read about Tommy in the Dispatch. Hero to Zero classic. No judgment. Just fact. Like reporting the weather. He'd sold the lake house proceeds to a developer. Before you lot turned it into a courtroom and wired me a chunk for that Mustang you never bought. Get something reliable. I didn't touch it. Let it sit in savings. A war chest for whatever came next. Aunt Karen went radio silent after her Facebook rant. Family first. Even the fuck-ups got her unfriended by half the reunion crew. The cousins? The lawyer one offered pro bono on a defamation suit against the podcaster. But I declined. Let the truth fester. It was the only honest thing left. Tommy surfaced in fragments, a LinkedIn profile for security consulting in Cincinnati. A mugshot-style headshot that screamed midlife crisis. He didn't reach out. Not directly. But the signs were there, burner texts with Riley's old yearbook photo. Captioned "We're square," or my PI firm's address pinged on a reverse lookup app. Stalking. Or olive branch. Hard to parse the mind of a man who'd flipped from brother to betrayer and back again. I changed locks. Got a concealed carry permit. Ironic. Arming up against the kid I'd once bandaged scraped knees for. Nights. I'd drive the back roads in my Civic. Windows down. Wind whipping memories. Prom light strobing. Dad's gravelly laugh. The Mustang's engine purring like a promise. The climax crept up unannounced. Late October. Harvest moon hanging fat over the cornfields. I'd tailed a skip for a bail bondsman to a dive bar outside Toledo. Neon buzzing ladies' night. Air reeking of fryer grease and regret. As I snapped license plates from the lot, headlights swept in, Tommy's truck. Jacked up on lifts like compensation. He stumbled out. Crutch-free, but favoring the knee. Bottle brown bag in hand. Our eyes locked through the windshield. No freeze this time. Just inevitability. He waved me over. Casual as a tailgate invite. And against every instinct screaming run, I went. Inside was a tomb of faded glory, jukebox crooning Waylon Jennings, pool balls cracking like bones, a bartender with tattoos snaking up his neck pouring shots like therapy. Tommy claimed a booth in the back, away from the glow, and slid a course across the scarred formica. Truce. His face was gaunt, hollowed by oxy withdrawal and alimony fights, but the eyes, those were the same. Calculating. The devil's dice. I sat, spine rigid. What's left to truce? You burned it all. He laughed. Low and broken. Says the sister, who ventilated my leg. Fair play?
Sammy. But the leak?
That was you. Right? The final nail. I shrugged. Karma's a bitch with a badge. We talked then, not confessions, but barbs wrapped in reminiscence. The time we built a fort in the backyard. Dad's tools scattered like treasures. Mom's perfume lingering after she left. A ghost we both chased in different ways. Riley, he skirted her. But I pushed. She laughed at your jokes.
Tommy.
Real ones. Not this conman shit. He drained his beer. Signaled for another. I know. That's why I paid her mom. Not hush, just righting a wrong. Late as hell. The flip again. His narrative twisting to martyr. And Jamal? I confessed to IA last week. Testified against the brass. He's getting paroled next month, my doing. Proof on his phone. Emails. Transcripts. A redemption arc scripted in legalese. Was it true? Or another layer? Bait to draw me in? The bar emptied around us. Last call, a distant bell. And the controversial heart of it spilled. His decision to drag me down too. Founder emails to the feds.
Sammy.
Draft folder on your laptop. Vehicular cover-up. 2009. I forwarded anonymously. Figured if I go down, we all swim. My blood roared. You son of a... But he cut me off, leaning in, breath sour. Hear me out. Probation violation for you, lying to cops back then. Manslaughter bumped to conspiracy. But Riley's mom? She wrote a letter. Samantha saved my sanity by taking the blame. Let her go. He slid an envelope across. Yellowed. Postmarked from hospice.
Inside.
Her scrawl, shaky but fierce. I knew it was him. Forgave you both. But him less. Use this to end it. Tears pricked first in years, and the bar spun. Ethics fracturing like cheap mirrors. Was Tommy's sabotage a gift? Forcing closure? Or the ultimate betrayal? Weaponizing forgiveness? I pocketed the letter. Stood. The weight of it pulling me under. Your poison.
Tommy.
Always were. He nodded. No fight left. Yeah. But family's the antidote. Or the overdose. I walked out into the chill, moon silvering the lot, and drove home with the radio off. The silent screaming questions no jury could answer. The end came quiet. Thanksgiving Eve. Snow dusting the eaves like powdered sugar on a grave. Grandpa passed in his sleep. Heart gave out. The doc said, but we knew better. The burden of our sins too heavy for those Korean shoulders. The funeral was small. Methodist church in town. Folding chairs creaking under mourners in ill-fitting suits. Tommy showed. Alone. Suit rumpled. Standing at the back like a penitent. Lisa had full custody now. The boys relocated to her sisters in Phoenix. Fresh start, her lawyer cited. He caught my eye during the eulogy, mouthing sorry, but I looked away, focusing on the casket's brass gleam. After, at the graveside, wind whipping the flags on nearby stones, he approached slow, knees stiff in the cold. Read the will. Grandpa had split it even, half to charity wounded warriors. Ironic. Half to us. With a codicil, to Tommy and Sammy, sell the sins. Buy forgiveness. Or burn it. We'd found the dashcam tape in his safe, pristine. Labeled truth. 2009. Tommy held it now. Fingers white-knuckled. What do we do? His voice cracked. The cunning stripped bare. I took it, snapped it over my knee, the plastic splintering like bone, and tossed the shards into the wind. We live with it. Or we don't. He nodded, tears tracking dirt-streaked cheeks. And we hugged then, awkward. Real. The first honest touch in 15 years. No words. Just the crunch of gravel under boots as we walked away separate. Was it happy? Tragic? The papers called it closure. Ex-detective clears name in old scandal. Sister testifies to family pact. Readers picked sides online, forgive the cop or justice delayed. Debates raging in comment threads like campfires. Me? I bought a used Civic. Cherry red. No Mustang ghosts. Drove to Riley's grave one dawn. Laid wildflowers swiped from a roadside stand. Sorry, I whispered to the frost. For all of it. And Tommy, last I heard, he's coaching Little League in Cincy. Knee brace and all. Telling the kids about teamwork over cover-ups. We text holidays, miss you, but don't meet. Family, fractured but fused. American, not no one unties clean. Revenge, It hollowed us. But in the hollow, maybe room for something green to grow. Or not. That's the twist, your call.